Hi, everyone. I'm Dan Albers, and welcome to This Week in Anderson. I am Dingo, and that is the coach, Steve Ellis. And, Steve, I'll tell you what, I'm really excited about our next guest. But before that, we got to thank our sponsors. Again, we got a new sponsor, which is really, really cool. It's somebody that we know. It's a good one. Our podcast is sponsored by Z&S Car Detailing. Are you ready to give your car the VIP treatment it deserves? Introducing Z&S Detailing, where excellence meets luxury in a car detailing. At Z&S Detailing, they specialize in turning your vehicle into a work of art inside and out, but we're not just about aesthetics. I thought I was going to mess that up.
Man, I was waiting for that.
I was going to mess that one up.
I thought he'd screw that up.
Our advanced techniques also protect your car's paint from the elements and maintain its value over time. Whether you drive a classic beauty or a modern marvel, trust Z&S Detailing to treat your car with the care and attention it deserves. Visit us today at zsdetail.com to book your appointment. And like I said, Steve, pretty cool that these guys do it. I've seen some of their work that they've done.
They're booked up too.
They are.
You know, a couple of college guys, and they booked up, and they do great jobs. And I'm trying to get on their schedule, but
trying to get in
it's
there.
Looking like October at this point.
Well, you're gonna have to wait till you have to get back from Florida anyway, because you don't want to mess up the car. But as I said, joining me is my co-host Steve Ellis. And Steve, I tell you what, our next guest, Colleen McMahon. I tell you what, we were kind of texting, before we set all this up, and you think about, just what a great athlete she was, in the Hall of Fame. But when she was in the Hall of Fame, the Hall of Fame wasn't what it is today. No. It's like we were talking about. It's the original. She was one of the originals. Like there was only, I want to say 4, maybe. I don't even know if there was that many.
3, I think.
Yeah, there's not many people in there. So she was one of the first ones, and that just speaks volumes right there, because it was back then. It was pretty hard to get into the Anderson Hall of Fame. I mean, it was tough, and then it's changed a little bit now, but she was one of the originals. I remember going down the hallway, and they had her jersey up, next to the athletic director's office, and just reading the stats, and you're going to go through this. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just incredible, the level that she set. I mean, obviously being, at the time, I mean, just a pioneer in women's soccer for Anderson, and it's just incredible what she accomplished back then. So I'm glad we have her on, because it's quite overdue. Absolutely, it is overdue, and it's just been fun to look at her career. But we'll get into that a little bit later. But joining us, as we said, is Colleen. I was going to say, I don't know, I didn't even ask you. I was going to say Colleen McMahon, because that's what everybody knows at Anderson. Let everybody know what your married name is.
Beckman.
Beckman. There we go.
Colleen McMahon Beckman.
I should have prepared myself a little bit better than what I did here.
It's good homework. I like it.
So, but Colleen, thanks again for joining us. I know we've been trying to get on for a while, and we want to thank Joe Dayton for kind of giving you that push a little bit there to get you going. But let's talk about go back to the beginning about growing up in Anderson. Talk a little bit about what side of Anderson you lived on, and just overall general growing up as a little kid in Anderson.
So I grew up actually right around the corner from Joe Dayton, and I saw that you had Mike Shields on here.
Yes, yeah.
Kind of in between the two. So kind of where Salem and Sutton intersect.
Okay.
I grew up there. My mom is 94 and a half, and she still lives in the same house.
Wow, that's great.
So that's where I was until I got married.
That is crazy.
Wow. So where did you go to elementary school?
So I went to Maddox for. Okay. So Guardian Angels didn't start Catholic school until 3rd grade.
Oh.
So I went to Maddox K through 2.
Okay.
Then I went to Guardian Angels 3rd through 8th. And then the big dilemma was where to go to high school. I mean, most of my friends went to McNicholas. Yeah. The guys, I guess they went everywhere, but there were some St. X kids, Anderson kids, Turpin kids. It kind of depended where you lived. So my big choice was between Anderson or McNick, and I'll be very, very honest with you. Anderson knew they were going to have a women's soccer team. It was the first year they were going to have a team, and McNicholas was kind of riding the fence. And so, my 2 older brothers had gone to Anderson before me. So obviously you kind of follow the line, the pathway of your family. But soccer was absolutely the clincher. So
just saying that real quick, is that one of those decisions? Because we've had people that we've had on here before that some brothers went to Anderson, some went to McNick. Was that the decision that your parents made a decision, or was that solely based on your decision that you wanted to go to Anderson?
They let me have the decision.
They let you have the decision.
Yeah. So you grew up in a big family.
Yeah, there's 6 of us.
Okay, so walk us through your siblings and where they went to school real quick.
So my oldest brother Pat all six of us went to Anderson for high school.
Okay.
But my brother Pat, I believe, was in the year when Anderson and Turpin had split.
Like 77?
76. Yeah, 76.
And so Tim graduated in 79. Pat graduated, I think, in 77.
Okay.
Anyhow, Pat ended up, he went to Anderson. Tim went to Anderson. Than me. Terry's 2 years younger than me, and then my twin brother and sister Kelly and Jimmy, 4 years younger than me.
Which is us. What's our class?
Yeah,
that's right.
Go
yes,
86.
yeah. Go 86.
Go Redskins.
Go, yes, sir.
So, all right. So let's talk about playing sports, because you mentioned about your decision about whether to go to Anderson based upon one of the things being soccer. We're going to talk about soccer in a minute, but when you were growing up, didn't you play some other sports as well?
I swam. So my parents were big into every kid needs to know how to swim, and so we were all kind of put on Coney Island swim team.
I knew it.
So you stop and you think about Coney Island swim team, and you were forced as an 8-year-old to swim from the island.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Like that's far.
Yeah, it is.
There was a little bit of drowning, I think, on some kids. But all six of us swam swim team.
Yeah.
And Coney Island's kind of where I, we grew
right
up
down
in the
the
summer.
road from you.
And then I was a cheerleader for a short time in grade school.
Okay.
That probably was not the best thing for me. And then I started playing soccer. It's funny, my mom thought it was a sissy sport. When I came home and said I wanted to play soccer, she was kind of like, ugh, I don't really know about this sport. So I was probably 8 or 9-ish when I started. And obviously back then it was just, there was nobody who played before us.
Yeah.
It was just well-meaning parents who came out to learn a new sport and coach their kids.
Yeah. I remember when I first started playing soccer, and I'm the youngest, my older ones didn't play. My mom and dad had no idea what soccer was, and I'm just run out there, run as fast as you can, and kick the ball, try to kick it in the goal. Yeah, so when you were growing up playing soccer, I'm sure you played on local neighborhood teams, but then you started getting better. Was there a select team back then?
There was, but it was so much different than what today's select teams are. So in the very beginning, it was just your say league, right?
You're right, say league,
you
nice.
played in the fall, and it was only a fall sport.
Right.
There was no spring sport.
No.
And then I probably made my first select team when I was 11. Do you guys remember Missy Williams Arnold?
I remember the name.
She graduated 2 years before me.
Yep.
We played on a select team together.
I do remember her, yes.
And pretty much, we traveled, but back then we did, what's it called, car washes?
Yeah.
And we would do paper drives. So we'd go around the neighborhood with the little red wagon collecting newspapers in order to raise money to be able to go.
Oh.
So I vividly remember going to the Robbie tournament every year up in Canada. That was a big one. But even then, like you didn't stay in a hotel. You were hosted by a local team.
Oh, wow.
And so I might be spending the night at your house, and you might be the person I'm playing against the next day.
Yeah. So what was the name of the organization that you played for? Was it the Cardinals, or was it?
No, this was before. It was before the Cardinals. Oh my gosh, I'm embarrassed to say I don't even remember the name.
I just remember the Cardinals. I don't remember any other ones.
I don't know. Maybe it was the Cardinals. Maybe I just don't remember that.
Yeah.
I had to dig through my photo.
So, but like you said, it wasn't back then. It wasn't as big. I think later on it started getting bigger and bigger. And today it seems like everybody plays select soccer.
Well, it's year round.
Year round.
And now almost select is more important than what your high school is.
Yeah.
And obviously, when I played, that's not the way it was.
So I want to go back to your saying that part of the decision to go to Anderson was that they were going to have a program. So were you on like the first team?
Yes.
Oh my goodness! How about that?
Wow.
So what year was that? What year in school for that? Was that?
I was a freshman.
Okay.
So coming into my freshman year was the first year. At least that's my recollection. That's
so freshman year for you would have been 19.
I graduated in 82, so 79, 78.
Yeah,
right?
78, 79,
yeah, 70. Wow.
That is crazy.
Do you remember who the coach was?
Debbie Turner. She was the coach all 4 years I was there.
Yeah, I remember her.
I don't.
Yeah.
She went to like Michigan State, and then I think she was visiting a friend here in Cincinnati and applied for the job, and then got the job.
Was she a teacher too?
Yeah, she taught home economics.
Really?
Yeah.
Home ec. Nice.
Oh, that is crazy.
Making the pillows, Dan.
Yes. Or banana pudding. I remember doing banana pudding. I remember that. So let's listen to this. The soccer career that she had here at Anderson High School.
Incredible.
So, first team 1981 All Midwest Division I. First team All State Division I 1981.
Wow.
First team All City Division I 1980 and 81.
Yep.
Player of the Year in the Cincinnati Enquirer and Cincinnati Post 1981. First team All Hamilton County Athletic League 1980. And that Hamilton County League was an unbelievable league. Yeah. And then she was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1991. And as we said, back then barely anybody got into the Hall of Fame then. I mean, there was not. I just remember, like you said, always seeing that when we were playing. You know, and always being around Anderson, I always remember seeing your jersey up there, and I just remember just all the great things. So pretty impressive stats that you had. It's when you look at that. But let's talk about, like, well, you just kind of talked about who your coach was, but talk about some of the players that you played with too. So, you know, some other players that might have been, you know, just as good, or some of the talent that was there at Anderson.
You know, it's funny because it's a different level of play nowadays than what it was then.
Yeah.
I mean, I look back and I think we were just a bunch of scrappy little kids that, like you said, you ran as fast as, you know, kick the ball as far as you can. Someone will run down and get it.
Yeah.
And hopefully they score.
Yeah.
Rhonda Stapp, do you guys remember that name?
No.
Mm-hmm. She was really good. Gina Felser.
I've heard that name.
So she played on the left side, left wing. Dana Harmon was a great
the
goalie.
Yeah.
Leslie Harris. I played with Leslie Harris.
Wow.
She was a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
Playing against, like, Wendy Ryder played for Turpin. She was a really good player, and Teresa Hirschauer, obviously.
Yes, remember her. Yeah.
She was a phenomenal player.
So back then too, I don't know how that, you know, I know the men always had a good team too. The women always had a good team, and I don't remember how that was. So that first couple years, did they have the tournament? Did they have the Ohio high school tournament back then, or how did that go?
Oh,
do you remember?
Nope, I don't.
Okay.
I don't even remember what our stats were like my freshman, sophomore year.
Okay.
I mean, we were good. We played well. But, you know, there were just a lot of good athletes on the team.
So the players that are on the team, because this kind of varies, especially as time goes by, but I mean, you obviously being very good and playing on some select team. Was that the case for a lot of the girls?
So do you remember Julie Tukey?
Sure.
Yeah.
She played on the team too. I believe she played select as well.
Okay.
Like I said, Missy Williams played select. Carrie Sickema and Julie Fries both played on that team. Those are two girls that I still keep up with today. I don't believe that they played select. But I think it was just, select was still fairly new.
Yeah.
I mean, if you stop and you think, if I made a select team at age 11 and you're starting high school at age 15, it wasn't like it is now.
Yeah. So have you been back to the Anderson, to the football?
Not in a long time. So I was there the night of the Hall of Fame induction.
Okay.
Because that's my husband and I were talking about that. There were only like 4 people there that night. And I know there were, Joe should have been there, I believe. Mm-hmm. But he wasn't physically present. There were only 3 or 4 of us there that night. So I was in the auditorium then.
Okay.
When they called me to tell me that they were taking down all the jerseys, they were redoing the whole way that was done. Yeah. My mom actually came up and got my jersey.
Good.
So
that's great.
It's at her house.
That's
awesome.
Great.
So.
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons I was asking is just, you know, I ask this all the time, compared then to now. You know, they got this nice flat field that's not a dome shape like the football field was. You know, and it's you know, the conditions are so much better now than then, and just imagine what your stats could have been, you know, if you would have had the facilities that they have now.
Yeah, I mean, if we played on that back, we practiced on that back field behind the practice football field.
Down the goal.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah, you lost balls all the time in those woods.
In the woods.
And then our games were obviously where kind of adjacent to where the baseball field, I don't know.
Also, you played up at the top.
Up at the top. Okay. All right. I didn't know if they'd already started doing it. I knew they did that like in the mid 80s. I didn't know that it started back then.
I specifically remember that Turpin Anderson game was on that field.
Wow.
So I do remember
crazy.
that.
Yeah. That's
well, that at one point that was the original football field.
Up top. Yeah, because we've seen pictures.
Because the high school, where the middle school was, that's the high school, and that was where their football field was. And
it was right behind there.
And then they moved it down there. I mean, after doing all that research on the football team and all that, that's when I found out that they played their games right there.
Wow.
And we had that lovely cinder track around.
Oh, how bad was that when you fall on that?
That hurt when you fell on that.
Yeah, that wasn't good.
Or if you're running, and with like a smog or smoke, the dust coming up, and you're breathing all that in.
Yeah,
you had to wear those spikes when you were running.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I never did. I mean, Susie Graham did hurdles. I was never doing hurdles. There was no way I was going to face plant on.
Did you do track then?
I ran track.
Did you?
I ran track all 4 years, and I ran track because there was no spring soccer.
Yeah.
I ran track to keep me in shape for soccer.
Okay. Did you do anything in the winter?
No, and I can't remember the name of who the basketball coach was for women at the time, but he asked me my sophomore, junior, and senior year to play, and I said no every year.
Mike Ryan?
I don't know.
He was a history teacher.
Might have been dark hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
So you ran track, and was Andy the coach?
Was it Debbie Evans? Her.
Oh, Pat Evans, wasn't it? Or
it was a female, Mrs. Evans. Miss Evans.
Yeah.
Miss Evans. And then Andy Wolf was the men's coach.
I remember Miss Evans. Yeah, our freshman year. What was the class you take that you have to like get married?
Skills for independent living.
No. The one where like you fake like getting married and they have a ceremony.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
She taught that class, Miss Evans, but she was only there our freshman year. Then she left.
I don't really like we talked about the memory thing before we came on air. My memory stinks.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't remember some of that stuff like you.
I can remember what you did. Yeah.
Well, I've got some stories on it. I know. I've got some good stories on it.
All right. So let me ask you this: What was the thought process after going into your senior year and after that about playing in college? What took you to where you went?
I knew I wanted to play soccer in college, so and I knew that I wanted to go to nursing school.
Okay.
So I kind of focused. I think I had St. Louis was on my list of schools.
Okay.
I got invited to a tryout with Anson Dorrance down at University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. Well, who doesn't want to go there?
Right. For lots of reasons.
Oh yeah, that would have been a dream come true, but that was not to be. And then UC recruited me. So it's funny though. My husband and I have talked about this before. I was recruited by UC, but I didn't know that I was going to make the team. Like when you went down for the tryouts, they put you in different groups or whatever, and the whole time you're thinking, okay, wait a minute, these are girls that like I really would like to emulate. And what are these girls? Like you didn't know which group you were in.
Yeah.
And until the day that he literally announced the team, I had no idea that I was making the team.
Now was that in the summer going into school, or had school already started?
No, school hadn't started. It was in the summertime, and I can't remember when he like brought me down to campus and walked me all around the campus and that kind of stuff. But then we had conditioning in the summer before our tryout started.
Yeah.
So
tell us a little bit about how that went, because I mean you had a great career at Anderson. How did it work out for you at UC?
UC went very, very well.
Okay.
I don't think I would change a thing. I think I'm pretty happy with when I got there versus girls that play now, and that's not to belittle the sport at all, but when I went to UC, there were only 2 full rides. She did not give out full rides. She divided those up between 8 people. So you might have gotten a room, you might have gotten board, you might have gotten part tuition, you might have gotten books.
Wow.
So my freshman year, I remember this vividly. So we were on quarters back then, right?
Okay.
And I think it was $400 and something a quarter to go to college. And I got $1,000 scholarship. So, I mean, that was large.
Yeah.
In my sophomore year, I got $1,500. And then junior, senior, I got that $1,500 plus a dorm room. So, I thought I was living high on the hog.
Okay. All right. So, in saying that, without you even explaining anything, what this is telling me is that each year she got better and better at soccer, and she was getting more and more. So she never came off the field.
Yeah.
I started, I think, every game of high school and college.
Is that right?
That's
awesome. That's great.
Unless I had an injury.
So besides the tryout portion, I mean, was it what you thought it would be?
That and so much more.
Yeah.
The camaraderie was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I look back and I think I've gone to several alumni things at UC, and does anybody really realize what they have when they have it?
Yeah.
And to say to these girls, you are so spoiled. Like, they get their socks, they get their shin guards, they get their shoes. They have these locker rooms that are phenomenal.
Yeah.
When I was at UC, you each got assigned a ball. You lost that ball, you paid $15.
Oh my goodness.
You had to carry your ball to and from every practice.
Yeah.
You wanted to get taped up, you had to be taped before football or after football. You could not interrupt football at all. That was like
the pecking order.
Big, and UC's football
the team was awful. Yeah, they were awful. Awful. I'm trying to remember even who that was. Some of those I mean, they were bad.
I think we had, so I was at UC, I ended up being there 5 years for nursing, but I think there were 3 or 4 football coaches during my tenure there, and they didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And we made it to the NCAA tournament two of the 4 years that I played.
Did you really?
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
We got our clocks cleaned out in California my sophomore year, like clocks cleaned 5-0.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Bad. And then senior year, we made it as well.
Who'd you play?
I don't remember who we lost to.
But I mean, think about it here, Danny. I mean, she's first woman to be in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
That's big.
It's
first
huge.
women's soccer player to go on and play in college.
Right.
I mean, it's. I mean,
that's exactly why that we love doing this.
Yeah.
Is because a lot of times people don't really understand and really know the history and what's going on. And I know, I know, way back when you were one of the first one that we wanted to try to get a hold. I know I was bugging the crap out of your brother Jim for a while there, and we kept going back and forth. I mean, I don't even remember what happened or how it ended up happening. But I think it's important for everybody to understand the history of not only men's sports but women's sports and some of the sports that might not be as glamorous as people. There's so many great swimmers, so many great divers, so many great, there's so many things out there, and you were, I mean, just a huge part of, that beginning history of Anderson High School. I mean, it's a phenomenal what you have done in your career.
It was a fun experience, and coming to a high school when you really don't know anybody. There were 4 kids from my grade school that went to Anderson High School.
Oh.
So I knew 4 people.
Really?
No kidding.
And I really just kind of got lucky with the people that I met and the group that I got in with. And, I made all of my kids do a sport their freshman year of high school, a fall sport, because I think going to those camps beforehand,
Gets you to
just the socialization of doing that. I think it's just so important.
Absolutely.
And I just really got kind of lucky.
Yeah, Steve and I have talked about this a lot with a lot of the same people that we have on, that when we went to Anderson, it was just a great time. I mean, just growing up as a kid, but then going to Anderson, we got to experience Joe and Frank and all those guys in that basketball, and going to those packed arenas was something special. Going to the soccer games, how great they were in soccer. I mean, we had some really good, memories growing up at high school. And I'm sure you probably feel the same way, how it was just high school was a lot of fun in Anderson,
It was, and I don't think there's I couldn't pick out one memory that
Well, I'm going to get you for it later. Here. I want to get you for it later.
Yeah, I'm better about that.
We'll pick your brain. All right. So after you finished playing at UC, did you continue to play?
I did.
Okay.
And I blew out my knee right after my college career.
Is that right?
Playing co-ed indoor. I got juked. I fell for the juke, and when I realized it, I went to turn, and
your knee
my body went that way, and my knee went that way.
No kidding.
Yep, and I was leaving 4 days later for a tournament up in Canada. So I ended up being the coach of the team.
Yeah. Oh, wow. All right, so beyond your playing days, get us caught up. What you ended up doing, sound like you went into nursing, I think. Tell us about your career and your family.
Okay, so I actually continued to play soccer until after I had my 5th child. And once I had my 5th child, I was like...
Here we were, phone. Sorry for it.
It's kind of time to hang up the kids.
5th child. If I had 5 children, I couldn't play softball anymore. There's no way in heck. So
I went to UC, graduated from nursing. they do something called a role transition, where the last quarter of your school, you get paired up with a preceptor, and you work with that preceptor all the time. And that person's supposed to kind of teach you everything that you need to know about nursing. I was blessed and got chosen to be one of 7 people that I went out and lived on an Indian reservation in Arizona.
Wow.
Really?
Oh, it was phenomenal.
That is cool.
It was phenomenal. So I did that, and that experience, it was a really small Indian hospital, reminded me a lot of a rotation that I'd done at Shriners Burns Institute.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I went back and applied at Shriners, and I have been there 37 years.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Good for
Wow.
you, man.
So,
But that's also I give you a lot of credit for doing that too.
Yep.
I mean, just going to see when my dad, when he was I don't know how you guys the emotions of
Takes a special person.
It does. It really does, because I don't know if I could handle seeing people like that. You know what I mean?
but I think that all of us are blessed with the gifts God gives us for a reason, right? Like, I could not sit behind a computer all day.
Yeah.
I'm a very social person.
Right.
And kids are very, very resilient. So
Right.
I think there's something, with that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow. So tell us about your husband and your kids.
Okay, so I met my husband we got married in 91. So I met him in about 88, I guess.
Okay.
Got married in 91. So we have 6 kids.
Wow.
I had one more after that 5th one.
Jesus, Pete.
So
6 kids.
they range from 31 to 19. So
Okay.
you do the math. I'm an old mom.
Wow.
Okay. The first 5 came within 7 years of one another, and then Annie came 4.5 years later. So
Okay.
I've got 3 boys, 3 girls.
Oh.
Unlike Carol Brady, I birthed all 6 of mine. She did
I
not.
was going to say.
That's
She did
awesome.
So, and they're all over the place. So
Yeah.
my husband and I like to travel. We like to hike, and we do a lot of backpacking, and we do kind of some adventure trips. And so we took our kids on several Western trips, and as he likes to say, they drank the Kool-Aid and they liked it.
Yeah.
So my oldest is married and in Arizona. My second one is in San Diego.
Okay.
My third is in Columbus, but going to move out to Denver in the
Oh,
fall.
wow.
My 4th one is in Seattle.
Jeez,
My
Pete.
5th one is in Denver, and Annie is the only one home with us until she finishes college.
Wow. Well, you got some great places to visit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Told 'em
crazy.
They just have to live somewhere that we want to visit.
That is crazy.
Wow. Good for you.
So any of them have kids?
No,
kid?
only one married and no kids yet.
One
and
married
it's
and
kind
no-
of ironic. All 3 girls are in the medical field. Allie's a nurse, Maria's a PA, and Annie's in nursing school. And
Nice.
I have one. My husband's an engineer, and one of them's an engineer. The other 2 are business majors.
That's
How about
crazy.
that? Yeah. So the Shriners, is that down in Clifton?
Not anymore. We moved 3 years ago up to Dayton, Ohio.
Oh.
So we are now called Shriners Children's Ohio, and we are a hospital within a hospital. We're inside of Dayton Children's Hospital.
Okay.
So
All right.
same institution, just different place.
So you're driving to Dayton every day?
I do.
Oh.
I hate the commute.
Wow.
We used to we had a brief stint in Dayton.
Yeah. We went to Sinclair Community College up there. Pride of the Tartans.
How'd you like driving up there?
We had an
we
apartment.
actually, and it was a scary
Bad part of town.
Oh,
It was a horrible
there's
part
a
of
lot
town.
of places that are scary parts of town out there. That's what they tell me.
Colleen, it was
We made the most of it.
it
Though.
was not a good. I mean, I think right now we've heard that they've like got rid of the street and tore everything down. It's like there's
I don't know. I stopped for gas one time, and when I told my coworker where I stopped, she's like, "You did not stop
Oh
there."
no.
I'm like, "Well, yeah." I didn't
That's funny.
know.
right. So you got a good hour drive. Well, you're from Loveland, so it's not too
It is
bad.
an hour. It's
Still an
55
hour.
minutes.
Is
I
it?
mean, I leave an hour beforehand. So, and I work part time, so I do 2 days 1 week, 3 the next.
Okay.
What a beautiful.
Do you have a end game as far as how long you're going to work?
Oh, I'd quit tomorrow if it weren't for healthcare. Probably till I'm 63.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I got.
And then you'd be traveling like crazy.
I got a couple years left.
Yeah. Then you're ready to go.
So just real quick, I want to talk about, we talked about Joe Dayton and coming in and how you guys are friends. And, that's one thing that Steve and I have been best friends for forever from high school. And we still talk to some guys from high school. Do you still talk to a lot of some of your high school classmates?
Carrie Sycamore, Julie Fries, and Beth Taylor I keep up with
Okay.
pretty often. Brian O'Rourke, I keep up. This is true.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, talk about that.
So Julie Freeze went out to visit Brian in California when he was doing his Garage of Love or whatever it was, and so she made me this shirt. It's a Chunky B shirt, and it says something on the back.
Yeah.
Be nice, be real, whatever. So. Actually, when my son did live in L.A., I flew out to L.A. I told Brian I was coming. He picked me up from the airport, and we went out to dinner.
Wow.
So I like keeping up with him. You can't not keep up with the Nabs and Dean Tidball,
Yes.
Dave Crotty, and Tom Brenneman, and that whole crowd.
Yeah.
Whenever there's anything social going on, like they're all there.
Yeah.
So it's easy to keep up with them through there, but. Mostly I keep up with, and now I'm back in touch with Joe.
That's awesome.
That's kind of nice.
Well, Sycamus used to live right by me.
Oh, yeah.
I lived on Clemson Circle, and they lived on Muskegon, I think, or on the corner of Muskegon and, well, I don't know what street that was, but yeah, they lived right. So I remember all them, too. And didn't he have a brother, was it Craig?
Greg,
Okay, yeah.
Carrie, and Brenda.
I don't remember Brenda.
She was younger. I think she's 2 years younger than me, so 2 years older than you guys.
Okay, yeah, I don't really remember. Yeah, so, no, that's good. So I told you I was going to do this to you, so it's the memory thing here. So we're going to try to, so let's talk about your favorite high school memory, your favorite college memory, and then maybe like a favorite high school teacher or coach. So let's start off with your favorite high school memory. It doesn't have to be sports. I mean, it could be, whatever you...
Non-sport related, I think just... You guys were talking about this before, about going to all the games, like Brian O'Rourke doing the prayer. I mean, when would that ever happen in a public school? But doing the prayer in front of, out on the track at the basketball games, all that, those kind of memories, like working on the floats, that kind of stuff.
There you go.
So not a specific non-soccer memory.
Yeah.
Soccer memory, I mean, it had to be the Turpin Anderson game.
Yeah, of
course.
Where we won 3-2. I mean,
Nice.
And how many goals did you have?
I had all three.
Yes! That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Love it. Do you remember how many goals you scored in your career?
I do not.
Yeah.
We'll have to look that up.
My husband had those stats for UC because I got recognized at UC I held several records there. I was in the NCAA record book for a long time for the most number of assists in a game.
Really? Wow.
And then that got broken. Kelly gave me an NCAA record book.
Really?
And then highlighted my name and handed it to me.
That's awesome.
Are you in UC's Hall of Fame?
No, I don't think I'm in their Hall of Fame.
Sounds like you should.
Yeah.
No, I don't think I'm. Vicky Neiman is. Debbie, I can't think of Debbie's last name. She was phenomenal. She was the first girl to play. She played on Turpin's men's team.
Oh. Really?
Yeah, I cannot think of her last name to save my life. Anyway.
Wow.
But that game, obviously, that Turpin Anderson game was a big game.
Yeah.
Sure, there's a lot of people there.
And did McNick end up getting a team then when you played them at all, or did they finally get one in your career?
They did get a team, but I don't know that we ever played them. I mean, the big rival was Turpin. Turpin was always the big rival.
Obviously, yeah, that was always a big one for us too. Was the Turpin or McNick? So, let's talk about college. What was your favorite college memory?
You know what? I think honestly, it kind of goes back to when I said in the beginning that it was just a different sport then than it is now. There weren't all the constraints on you. Like, most of us commuted, so they couldn't put a time limit on when you had to. There was no curfew on when to come home. There was just so much camaraderie and traveling. We didn't get a bus. We took those 12-passenger church bus vans and crammed 15 of us into like a 12-passenger to get from. But I look back on that and I think, I don't know that I would have wanted it any other way.
Yeah.
So I can't think of one college. Actually, my parents drove to almost every one of my games. They would take that trailer, pull that trailer. There were several parents that did this, and they would tailgate. And I just look back and I think, the support that I had, and it goes back to when I was saying earlier, sometimes I think you don't realize what you have until you look back.
Yeah.
I look at athletes like when was it Apollo Ono? Is that his name? The speed skater from, and how poised he was at age 17 when he won those Olympic medals. And I think, man, I wasn't like that when I was 17 years old. But to look back and just realize the blessings that I had.
Yeah. Well, and you talk about the parents' support. I mean, back then it was just second to none. You know,
everyone showed up for every game.
Yeah, it was so.
And
cool.
it didn't matter if you had a good team, bad team. I mean, the parents were always there no matter what. That's what I remember that too.
Yeah.
So what about a favorite teacher or coach?
Favorite teacher was Mr. Godar. Do you remember him?
Sure, English.
Yeah.
I loved him.
Mr. Godar.
Yeah, I just thought he was a great English teacher.
Yeah, he was the hipster.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just kind of really always very encouraging, and I don't know. He just had a gentle way of teaching or something.
Yeah.
I liked him.
Mr. Godar. Yeah.
Favorite coach. I mean, honestly, I really didn't have that many coaches, right? I mean, I had Debbie Turner all 4 years of high school. Freshman year of college, I had a guy named John McNamara, and then they brought in Meredith Glenn the next year. So I had her for 3 years.
Okay.
I had Miss Evans in track.
Yep.
Andy Wolf, though, was so he pulled me aside. I will never forget this. There was a girl from Turpin that I just could not seem to beat running that 880, 800, whatever you want to call it. And he taught me, like literally pulled me aside and kind of taught me, this is when you got to kick sooner. You got to throw your kick in sooner and get going. And the first time I beat that girl, I was so stinking happy.
I love it.
So
that doesn't surprise me from Andy, though.
No.
Legend.
Yeah. Big time.
Yeah.
Wow. What about? I want to ask. Any other? Like, do you remember like Mr. Steffen, the principal? Yeah.
Him
and Mr. Harris.
And Mr. Harris and Joe.
Simone? No.
Athletic director.
Oh, Miller.
Joe Miller. Yeah.
Miller. Yeah. Oh God, there's a legends right there.
I mean, what a trio of people we had. We were blessed to have them.
Yeah.
Joe Miller.
Yeah. And who was the disciplinarian guy? Not Seymour.
Seoman?
No. Dick Seoman was a counselor, I think.
But it did begin with an S, I think.
But I don't know. I was scared to death of him. And he would come in. He would just like separate the desk to get to somebody. I mean, he didn't take any crap from anybody.
Yeah. But just, that again, we appreciate you taking the time to do this. It's been pretty cool to catch up and bring back all these memories. And like Steve and I said, I mean, we just remember that number 3, wasn't it?
Yep.
Number 3, hanging up in there with Forrest Heiss.
Yep.
And the other football player, John Steele.
Yeah, guys earlier. Yeah, and your uniform top, it was like 3/4 thick.
Oh, they're like polyester.
That's right.
There was no wick away back there. And I mean, I have that at my house, and I look at that thing, and I think, oh my gosh, how did I fit in that?
That's awesome.
Funny.
I think Joe Miller was pretty instrumental in kind of getting that.
Oh yeah.
And my parents were notified ahead of time that night that they didn't tell them what, they just said something special is going to happen. So my parents got kind of like a front row seat for that.
That's great.
And where did you say they did that again? Did they do it in the cafeteria then, or they?
Yeah, and that was when they did the retiring thing. That was in front of all the athletes. It was before you got broken up into your small little rooms.
Okay.
And I was just overwhelmed. I don't know that I remember saying, I just want to say thank you. Like I think I was just so overwhelmed.
Yeah.
You don't realize the magnitude of that.
Well deserved, obviously.
It absolutely is. It's great catching up with you, and we need to try to keep in touch, and we love to hear all the stories that you've told us about people that you've kept in touch with, and it's just been fun to catch up. And you're gonna have to tell Jim and Kelly we said hey, because I don't think we've talked to them. And I mean, like you said, you saw him there, but I haven't seen Kelly. And I mean, because we used to hang out with her too, because she hung around with Paula Woolprice, and we hung around with Paula. Does she?
Yeah.
Still keeps in touch with her. So, yeah, we ran around with that group for a while. So it was a lot of fun hanging out.
High school was good. Anderson was good, and they will always be the Redskins in my book.
Absolutely. I agree. I mean, you see all my stuff I got in here. I still got all my Redskins stuff hanging up down here. Had to have my Anderson Redskins shirt over here and the helmets, and we have to put all that up there. So, but yeah,
represent.
We have to represent that. So maybe we can try to bring it back. What do you think?
Should work on that.
I'll work on that. They come back at Washington. If the Commanders, they get rid of that name and they put it in, there might be a shot. We might have a shot. So again, thanks, Colleen, for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
So again, our podcast here is sponsored by Z&S Car Detailing. Are you ready to give your car the VIP treatment it deserves? Introducing Z&S Detailing, where excellence meets luxury and car detailing. At Z&S Detailing, they specialize in turning your vehicle into a work of art inside and out, but we're not just about aesthetics. Our advanced techniques also protect your car's paint from the elements and maintain its value over time. Whether you drive a classic beauty or modern marvel, trust Z&S Detailing to treat your car with the care and attention it deserves. Visit us today at zsdetail.com to book your appointment. And again, don't forget to follow us on all of our social media apps. We got Spotify, iHeart. We got our YouTube channel. We've got our This Week in Anderson, Ding on the Coach, the Positive Energy Podcast. So if you're out there and you see and you're watching this video on YouTube, like and subscribe. That helps us out.
Yep.
Brings those algorithms or whatever the heck you want to call them. I don't even know what the heck they call them anymore.
Don't say that.
You're looking at me like I don't know what
that. You don't know what the hell you're saying. Yeah. So real quick, Danny, what's Colleen's married name?
Well, I see.
Yes.
Well, here's what I was going to do.
I got it.
Well, tell me, what is it?
Becker.
Beckman.
Oh, God.
Close.
What is it?
Beckman.
Well, this is what's sad, is all during this interview, I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, I forgot her married name, and I'm sitting there trying to think if something's going to cue me and keep, and I was kind of hoping something would slide in, but thanks for bringing that up and making me again.
No, it's all good.
Like I'm losing my mind. Yeah. So it's Beckman, right? Beckman. Not Becker.
Beckman,
yeah. Okay.
Of course so. Yeah.
That's crazy. So again, thanks, Colleen Beckman, for joining us. We really appreciate it. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. So for Steve Ellis, Dan Albers, and Colleen Beckman, you've been watching This Week in Anderson. Have a good night, everybody.